He is so sweet. He just hasn't been given a chance.
Yeah, so that's buona salute a tutti.
Yes. This is the birthday boy.
Okay, Cindy? Oh, excuse me. Okay, now we want the Steves give their dads the birthday cakes. And then they cut the first piece. And then we'll cut and then we'll serve the
Steve, come around this way.
We're going to sing happy birthday to everybody though, because there's a lot of birthdays. But since they're the oldest in the house, we'll have them celebrate.
Do we have to have numbers on here to see?
No candles. Okay, firemen, we can put the candles on.
Yeah, the fire department will give us some variants on it.
Stay in the back so I can get your pictures.
Excuse me, dear.
Get back so I can see your picture. Okay, yeah. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear everybody. Happy birthday to you. Okay, wait now. Here, come on, Ben. Okay, ready, set. Wait, let him get together. Get the name clearly here. Uncle Steve, ready, go, go, go. What's the matter, Harry? Cut the cake. Now, I baked that. I baked that. I'm going to have my feelings hurt, Uncle Harry.
There we are. Who wants the first piece?
The cake was baked by Earl, and Cindy had them decorated. And who made the styrofoam? And Cindy made the styrofoam. Now that's where you get to go there.
Mom, can I go look at it? Can I go look at it?
When you go on a diet,
May I?
this is not what was bad, you got 3 part of it.
Okay, I'll start, and I'll have one. Okay. Aunt Katie always made cakes, pies around the holidays. And so she made 2 cream pies. And I was downstairs with her, and she was putting the meringue on, and Then she was going to put some coconut on one of them, but she had already put the meringue on. And she said, "Oh darn, which one is the coconut?" And I said, "Just look under the pirate's plate." And she started to go, and then she chased me around the basement. That was, see, gosh, I thought of a lot of them when I was at home. Jenny, she's good. Jenny, tell some about Harry. I'll sit here between you. And you tell.
Start when we're small.
Yeah, oh, you can start when you're small and then start long.
I'm still small.
No.
That's a funny one.
Okay, Jen, tell
It
some
wasn't
good
so funny for me.
No.
No.
My brother and I were out in the yard, and back then, when you come in, you put it on the cob, you put it out, like with the chicken, and it rained, they'd get rich soaked up with the water. My father was washing the car, and my brother got in the car, and he was throwing it out. I was smaller than he was, so I picked up one and I threw it, and it landed on the car door, and my father couldn't come. And then I got spanked.
Because he's starting.
Funny story, but I remember Grandma canning outside in an open fire. And I canned this summer, and I thought, my gosh, how could she have done that? And then she put those lace curtains on those stretchers.
Stretchers.
Okay, the stretchers with the pins.
Yeah.
Oh, gee, life is better.
So they can keep the old days with the curtain stretchers and so on.
That's for sure.
Well, the one thing I remember real distinct is when I came into the family, they always had a picnic up at the lake where they had the cabin. And I don't know whether you little ones remember this, where they had the bed springs on the fire that they roasted the
Rabbits.
The rabbit. Right. And they put all that rabbit and the things on that bed springs out there.
And barbecue.
Now, I remember something about the cabin.
Yeah.
They always did, well, they had the outdoor John that was swarming with wasps, but we used to go out and pick blackberries. And Joe taught me how to do crust. Between Mom and her, the two of us taught me how to do crust. So I was going to make my first blackberry pie. And Catherine said, we're going to pick blackberries. The blackberries grew just wild out there. So we were out there picking berries, and just when I got inside the bushes, my basket was full, my tub was full, and I stepped on what I thought was a snake. My basket threw, we ran out, and then Catherine was going to go in and get this snake. And it ended up being a rubber hose.
That was at the spillway, wasn't it? At the spillway?
I could just imagine her going.
But she did, so we all scattered, and I took my basket, and she went in to kill that snake.
Like she killed the baby rabbits and she got the rats.
I'm sorry, I didn't know those were baby rabbits. I thought they were rats nesting on the side of the house. So Ben says, you killed a baby rabbit's nest here. Oh, no. Just, oh, color of baby rabbits.
They didn't look like rabbits, though. They really
No, they
didn't
had
look
no-
like mice.
They didn't have any fur or anything on them. They looked like little rats.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yeah.
She killed it, and I'll tell you that.
I've got another one. Nana always used to say, well, she needed a spatula. So Grandpa was down in the basement and she said, Steve, papi, give me la sciabola. Well, sciabola is a slang shovel. So he comes up from the basement with the shovel in one hand and the spatula behind his back. So when he handed the shovel to Nana, there were some words I don't think I can repeat, and then he handed her the spatula, and they all started laughing. And of course she was saying, "Manco m'attenda quando ti dici una cosa," and that means you never listen when I tell you something.
My favorite song was Sam and the Egg, but he ate, and we couldn't find it, we looked, if we got close to him, we were warm, And then Grandma finally got mad at him. 30 minutes looking for this egg. I said, tell him that you've eaten it.
She looked at his eyes. And she looked at his eyes and she said, Sam. And that's all she said. And then the grin and the expression, she knew right away what Uncle Sam had done. And of course then he's going, and he'd eaten the darn egg.
How did you get it down though without the peeling?
Oh, he peeled it, and then
It was in the waste can.
yeah,
He had us running all over
all
that
the
place.
way. Yeah, and
Well,
we
this is where you're hot or cold, and then we get real close to it, and he'd say, you're real hot.
real hot.
Well,
Then
we
we
go
ate
away.
it
You were probably standing right next to it.
while he still had it in his mouth chewing. Yeah. We always like to try and get him because he was always clowning around. So we thought, well, we'll just leave one egg not boiled at Easter because he's always cracking it on his head or like this and around and everything. But we let it slip in front of the little ones, and he smelled a rat, and he wouldn't fall for it whatsoever because we thought surely he'd crack it on his head. But the kids kind of gave it away, and he just cracked it in the plate, and of course it was raw egg, and so it kind of backfired, you know. Except when the new sister-in-laws came into the family. Nana always used to make sfingi. And when Uncle Harry too. So the sfingies are like an Italian donut, but they're kind of hollow inside, and she put pie filling in the middle, and then she put a little cotton. Well, she had to make sure that the new one coming into the family had to get that one. And so they would get it, and of course then the cotton would be like this. I tried it on one of my friends and it backfired. She nearly ate the whole thing before she got it.
Yeah, what about the cannolis? We did that too.
Yeah, you had one too, didn't you, Earl?
Christmas at Grandma's, the kids handed the gifts out.
Yeah.
Joanne was one of the kids handing the gifts out. She picked up this thing and she handed it to Steve, and she said, here's your belt, Steve.
I'm notorious for doing that. That's because I had to wrap all the presents. I knew what was in them.
You want to get even with him?
No. Yeah, I want to remember. Tell me what the car looked like when you were first coming over to Grandma and Grandpa's. I just remember metal. There weren't any doors. Do you know what I'm talking about? I remember
That was that homemade car.
it was a homemade car, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
there wasn't any, it was just open.
It was all open. I remember you
That was
taking
the
me
little
for a ride.
hot rod.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a hot rod.
Yeah, it was a hot rod. My dad finally ran over it with a record, tore it up because he was afraid I was going to get killed with it.
I bet they were real happy.
It was-
Yeah.
Dave Purdy had a California hot rod. He had bought that one time, and I just left him like a dead plane. He was still sitting there.
Did you make it?
No, my dad. Well, I helped him.
I remember that.
It was fast.
Would your dad, it backfired on your dad then?
He was afraid I was going to kill myself. Right. I have a recent story. This
Oh, okay.
is not old. This is recent.
Okay.
This happened at the wedding, at Kimber's wedding.
Oh, uh-huh.
And I'm telling on my daughter-in-law when I say this. But what happened, we're all sitting at the tables and talking, and kind of late, Vince comes walking in. And when he did, there were several people got up and went over, shook hands, hugged him, this kind of stuff. And Debbie's pretty new in the family. She knows Vince, but she don't know him real well. She nudged Alan and whispered. She said, "Is that the Godfather?"
They won't let me play ball like me.
What'd you say, Alan? I remember another one. I wasn't there, but Josephine was out in the parking lot at the Dairy Queen. And so she got out of the car, and of course there was a lot of cars in the parking lot, and she started looking up in the sky. And she didn't say a word or anything. She just kept looking and looking. So the car next to her, they opened the doors and they got out, and they started looking. And the other car next to them, well, what's going on? And they opened the car and they started looking. Well, when she finally got a crowd out there looking, they didn't know what they were looking at. She just turned to them and just said she wanted to see how many would get out there and look up at the sky, and there wasn't anything up there.
I remember we must have gotten a new scale, like as a mama or somebody got a new scale at Christmas time. And everybody was getting on to get wage, you know.
Was this before Christmas or after?
I don't know, but I'm not sure. It was somebody had a new scale anyhow. And Grandpa Riggio says, get on, Josephine, I'll help you. So he held my hand, and I thought he was going to help me get up, you know, and then all of a sudden he kept pulling me hard until I got way more. I didn't realize what he was doing. That's not what he was doing.
He was doing you a favor, Josephine.
Yeah.
What are some of the funny things that you little kids now remember?
I remember, well, it's not funny, I just remember Uncle Sam always dressing up like Santa Claus on Christmas, because we always spend the night at Nana's house. In the morning, you know, we just knock the door and they'd come and get us. Santa Claus is here, and I'd fall for it year after year. And I was seeing Joel there by herself, and I always wondered where Uncle Sam was. They never hit me.
And then, of course, he'd walk in the door 5 minutes later. Couldn't get the connection.
You didn't catch on for years.
And walked in 5 minutes after Santa Claus left. And Uncle Sam used to always put an ornament on the tree. And we never did catch him doing that.
No.
No, you never knew when he did it, but sometime you find that ornament and you think, we were really watching him. This year we're going to really watch him. And boy, that get on there and find out who did it.
We still try to do that. I've kind of gotten away from it, but the kids will do it.
I remember another one whenever, I think I've got to stack this high. Vince, you need to help me. Whenever, of course, I was the youngest, so I went with Don and Grandpa when they went visiting. So Aunt Katie made fudge, and of course Uncle Sam and Uncle Vince were the teenagers with Aunt Katie. So Aunt Katie made the fudge. So they ate it all up. And so Nana and Grandpa and I were coming back in the car, and we were coming through the driveway, and they were in the basement, and Vince had asked Katie to make another batch of fudge. And she said, no, she says, you ate all this. She says, I'm not making another batch. And about that time, like I said, Nana and Grandpa and I were coming through with the car, and they come in, and your dad, he had put some water in the milk in the pan, because he was going to make the fudge himself. Well, when Grandpa came down the steps, he says, what have you kids been doing? And he says, I'm just heating my milk for tomorrow. You were saying to Katie, make some more, but she wouldn't make no more, would she? She knew. She made that one batch. You ate it all up.
Mine isn't so much a memory, but one of the local characters in town came when I was working at the station. He found out who I was, and he knew Grandpa. And maybe Uncle Vince can fill in some of the facts, because he got it second or third hand. Grandpa was out hunting with some of his friends, and he'd just gotten a new shotgun. And they had all gotten their limit on geese, and they were going out or whatever. Somehow or other, they ran into the game warden, and they were all legal and everything. And the game warden was asking them, you know, well, apparently you did pretty good and this and that. And I guess Grandpa got to bragging about his new gun. And he said, you know, I believe I could hit a goose, you know, out over that tree out there, you know. And his buddy started giving him a hard time, saying, well, yeah, it's easy for you to say that now because you're standing next to the game warden with your limit. You know, you don't have to prove it. And about that time, a goose comes flying over, and Grandpa turned to the game warden and said, how much shoot too much goose? And the game warden told him, and Grandpa shot the goose and gave him the money.
So he had to prove the point.
Yeah, he was going to hit a goose out there whether it cost him or not.
I believe that.
Antoinette, you haven't said anything. Is there any funnies?
Well, we do remember.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Wasn't that the one that was over the bar?
That, you know, we all got together at Grandpa's all the holidays. We had to leave our toys at home and
How about the story about me and Josephine and then you come up?
I don't remember that. I was too little.
Josephine and I would be upstairs under the Christmas tree and Nana and Aunt Katie were downstairs. So Antoinette would always come up and she'd always want, you know, to be with me and Josephine. And Josephine and I were just talking and whistling, just playing, you know. And here we'd hear her come up the steps and she'd go, and we'd say, Josephine, here comes Antoinette. So we were real quiet and then we'd play like we were sleeping. And she'd come up in there and she'd try to wake us and she wanted to play. And we'd say, no. So she was going to go downstairs and tell Nana and Aunt Katie. Well, then, boy, we changed our tune right away. He said, okay, come on, let's play.
Well, that's the way they do it, don't they?
Right. I had a habit of getting the two of them in trouble, I think.
She knew who
I
to
know
report
I
to.
was the fault for Josephine getting several spankings.
She knew that if she told Nana and Aunt Kate is her mom, but boy, if things had straightened up upstairs, fine.
Oh, I remember the kids always having to eat in the kitchen. Remember that, guys?
Kitchen table, the little piece of
That's
kitchen. That's why we built that room on. We all eat together. There's no little table, big table.
Right. I remember going out to the cabin a lot. Joanne and I were talking about that earlier, and all the fun we had out at the cabin. And I'm not sure how we were going to get on this boat and either go out to where Grandpa was, and a bunch of us get in this boat, and we don't get but about a foot from the dock, and we're sinking. And Dad has to jump in and get us.
To scare the fish away. There's no fish anywhere near that place.
It's been kind of hard for my brother and I to eat it at the first table, the second table at my grandfather's place because my father was one of 12, and when you get all the 12 kids and their kids and their kids, on a Sunday, I don't know how my grandmother did it. There was 40 or 50 on a Sunday just to eat dinner.
Tell the story about Dad and his shoes.
Oh, my.
She's got, oh yeah, and don't mince any words. She's got a good story to tell about Dad Smith. Come on, tell her. No, you can tell
I'm
it.
getting red in the
Well,
face.
they're all adults here. You can say those words, I think.
Well, we lived out in Clinch Road, Old Des Moines. And my father worked at Majestic Mountains. We lived in one of the company houses. And Mr. Woolsey lived next door, Pete Woolsey. And their house had burned, but the outhouse hadn't. And they tore it down, and the weeds grew up, and my father was out cutting weeds one day with one of those, they were with those big sides. He's walking backwards. He stepped in this where the outhouse was.
He stepped in.
Up to his knees. Well, my mother was in town. And he went in the shed and he's hollering, Hank, her name was Hazel. Hank Hayes, bring me a clean pair of overalls and a bucket of water and a washcloth. She said, boy, you want a bucket of water and a clean pair of overalls. He said, just bring it down here at the shed, please. She said, what do you need it for? At that time he was mad. He said, GD, God damn it, bring it out here, I've stepped in. And I need it.
And the neighbors
And
were
the neighbors
sitting
were
out
sitting
on
on
the
the
porch.
steps and they had to go in the house.
They had to leave to go in the house because they couldn't get their face straight.
And there's another story behind that. My mother put he wore those gaiters,
Like slip-on.
slip-on shoes, and she soaked them in pure chlorine to try to get the smell out. And when he broke the wash out mine, and it would run out the head. So one time we were in the car, and it was kind of cool. And we shut up the windows and we were going to my uncle's. And my mom said, "Sure, I can't stand that. I just can't stand that." So my dad reached down, pulled off one shoe, and threw it out the window.
She didn't know if she was going to make it for the next Christmas or not, but she bought all the Christmas gifts ahead of time, and she didn't make it to that Christmas. When it came time for me to open my gift, everybody got this real nice gift. I opened my empty box. She had it wrapped real pretty. It's an empty box. And on the lid it said, "Ha I got the last laugh." And there was a $50 bill taped to the lid.
That's good. That was good.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, a lot of things.
What was the time with Dad, I think Uncle Vince, they tried to get you and Aunt Ann drunk, Mom? And then they went... Yeah, and then they were driving in the car with Grandpa, and he lit up a cigar, and they'd roll the windows down, and he'd get mad at them, and roll the windows back up, and they'd light the cigar again, and they'd roll the windows down.
That was when Antoinette was born, and we had been over to St. Louis to see her. And Grandpa kept smoking
The cigar.
And just,
They were celebrating.
Yeah, well, wasn't that like New Year, was that New Year's, or, I mean, when she was in there, it was like a holiday or something before? Not New Year's, but was it a holiday, or he was just smoking cigars to try and get you,
No, they,
make you sick with the cigar?
yeah, they were celebrating something, and Dad and
Yeah, I
Uncle
thought it
Vince
was a
decided they
holiday.
were gonna get Aunt Ann and Mom drunk, because they didn't drink that much, and they were gonna do their best to get them drunk. And instead, they got drunk, and then the next morning, they're hungover, but they're going to St. Louis to see Antoinette.
Yeah,
And Grandpa would light up a cigar, and they'd both get sick, and after a little bit, in the middle of winter time, they'd get mad and tell them to roll the windows up.
yeah, and then there was another night, Christmas, where Sam and Uncle Vince were trying to get drunk. Well, your dad did get drunk, and I had to take him home, and I think somebody else helped me. I don't know. Was it him that went with him?
Did you take Sam home then?
Yeah, and he kept dropping his keys. He couldn't get in the door. We picked him up, and he wouldn't let us open the door.
Oh, he wouldn't let you open the door.
No.
It's pretty hard to argue with a drunk man.
That was sad.
Somebody swept down the basement on the table because they couldn't.
That was over at Mama's house.
Yeah, the basement. Yeah.
yeah.
Where Steve was.
Yeah.
And they couldn't move, they just swept on one of the big tables down there.
Yeah. And then the kids would all go to sleep after. I don't know what it was, before we opened the gifts, waiting for the guys to come home.
Well,
They got in
Is that
the
what it was?
bedroom, but they didn't go to
They
sleep.
wouldn't go to sleep, but then Joe, he wouldn't even go into bed. He'd stay with the grown-ups.
And we kept trying to get rid of the kids, take a nap
Yeah.
and then go to sleep, and they just didn't want to miss anything.
Yeah.
I don't know, they really weren't, they weren't bad or anything, they just wanted to go to bed. So just remember that when your kids say, "No, I don't want to go to bed, I want to stay up and listen," right?
But they do that.
Yeah.
They still do. They still do that.
I know one about Mother and Dad. I don't know if you probably heard this one too. Mother was in the kitchen. She had opened up a can of chicken noodle soup, and Dad was sitting in the other room. So she was gonna put the can in the pan, and so she started walking over to the kitchen stove, and she dropped the pan, and she said, "Earl, see what you made me do?" My father-in-law was in the other room, and he said, "What, huh?" He had nothing to do with her dropping the pan of chicken noodle soup. She was mad at herself, so she blamed my father-in-law. She said, "See what you made me do?"
what she does.
No, I don't say that. I say that just because he forgot the eggplant today. That really was his fault. That really was his fault.
to blame somebody else once in a while.
Yeah, I could
It
blame,
wasn't
but I
Charlie.
blame Charlie
Oh, I
and
can't
Lena.
blame Charlie.
I could blame Charlie and Lena.
But why you won't blame Harry?
Because Charlie don't know where the
Charlie.
eggplant.
He should have been there to help.
Right. Oh, sure.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
One of you tell about the garbage man, or the cabbage man, that said, when he come to your, when Grandma was at your house today, she was staying with you.
Yeah.
She was trying to tell Harry that the garbage man came. Remember that?
No, now see, I forgot.
Okay,
that.
Harry-
You tell the story.
I don't,
You tell
I
the
can't
story.
say it very good.
Well, you say it with the accent too now.
Okay, anyway, she's staying with Harry and Catherine, and Harry come home, and what she wanted to tell him was the garbage man came. She couldn't say garbage very good. She kept saying like the cabbage man came, the cabbage man came, and she was getting frustrated, and Harry didn't understand. She said the slopper man.
I remember.
Then I understood.
Bonanza, they kept advertising when it was going to come on color. She wanted to know when Bonanza was going to be on color. Remember, it was a black and white TV. Because they kept advertising it in color. In color. She kept wondering when it was going to be.
You mean it wasn't in color to her, or
Right.
just
Well,
to
she had
them?
black and white TV.
Right.
They didn't explain that part of it. They just said it was going to be in color.
I know one Christmas we fixed a box for Steve for his for Christmas present. We put a brick in a box, and then we put a little stick, and we taped him up like a little flag. And of course, we give him this box, and it's kind of heavy. And I think he kind of suspected all the time because, you know, we play these goofy tricks, and I think he's you know, they're wise to it now. So he opens it, and he gets this little flag, this little stick on the money on it, it's going like a little flag. And I've got a picture of that, incidentally, with his grin on his face, like, I got money.
That's the last time he's had.
Yeah.
It's all bills now.
When you were in high school or something, there was a bunch of boys used to go around and take pumpkins off the porches.
Oh, no.
And you ended up going, did Uncle Sam have that wired down or something?
Well, what?
Well, you ended up going to Uncle Sam's house and, yes, you did. This is my uncle's house, they're stealing this
I
pumpkin.
think the guys did
The
it.
guys did.
And then you stopped them.
Yeah.
So those were my
You said all of a sudden
Sam,
they're in
you
Uncle
can't
Sam's.
bother them.
So then when we got a pumpkin on the front porch, he wired it to that metal chair, so if they tried it, it just rattled like crazy.
He knew what was
So they knew what they would do.
Now, I know you all have all heard dog stories, but this is one dog story. We used to have a dog named Jiggs. And when I was at home, Jiggs was always in the house, right? Not always, but sometimes he got to come in the house. So one night, we didn't hear Jiggs go to the door, and we were eating dinner, right? And she was making chocolate donuts. So we found an extra, what she thought was a chocolate donut on the floor. She said, who dropped this chocolate donut on the floor? And she reached out
She reached down.
to pick up the donut.
Jiggs never come in.
Jiggs never got to come back. Wonder why. I don't know.
Oh, boy, that must be a shock.
This is not a story, but it's something that anytime I ever think of Grandpa Riggio, I think of it. It was a joke that I had heard and told him, and I truly believe it was one of his favorite jokes. And the reason I think it was a favorite is because he comes from the old country, and he could relate to it. There were these two brothers. This one brother had been over here some time, and the second brother came over later. And he got a job in the factory where the other guy works, and he would go in the cafeteria. And his brother taught him to say, he spoke no English, but taught him to say, when he went in there, egg sandwich, please. So he would go in and he would say, egg sandwich, please, and they served this to him. For about 2 weeks, he ate this egg sandwich. And he was getting tired of it. So he told his brother, teach me something else. So his brother said, okay, tomorrow you go in, you say, hamburger, please. So he had it. He went in the following day, went to the cafeteria, he said, hamburger, please. This guy said, mustard, pickle, onion. He said, egg sandwich, please. Grandpa really liked it because I think
So we went back to eggs right away.
Was it your radio?
Yeah, it was the radio.
It had a record player and a radio. Anyway, Catherine's father had the truck and he brought it to take it over to his house.
But it happened to be the night
The fight.
and my father-in-law was a big fight fan. No place, nothing ever interfered with the
With the
fight.
fight. Okay.
And so,
And Catherine's mother insisted that he go
insist.
and take that radio to those kids. So he came by and picked up my dad and my late husband. And away they went. Well, my husband smoked and he put a cigarette in his mouth, but he never lit it. Because Catherine's father was wanting to get back to watch the fights. And they lived on a road where they just fresh rock roads. And if you know anything about a rock road, you can't go too fast. My husband never lit a cigarette until they got back. But he got back in time to see the fights. They never smoked, they never said nothing until they got out and said, I almost kissed the ground.
And didn't Dad say that it was a wonder that that record?
It's a wonder.
The radio played forever.
He never lit his pipe and Hank never lit a cigarette.
But he saw the fight. Yeah, your dad was he really liked those fights.
Yeah.
Boxing.
He drove like that.
Right,
Yeah,
to get
Betty
back.
Pizande.
Right.
He drove.
There's a Betty Pizande over there,
Yeah.
and there's a girl with Betty Pizande, and I think there's a few on this side of the
There's one
table
over
too.
here. There's one
There's a
right there.
few on this side of the table that have Betty
There's
Pizande.
right there.
You know what that means? Heavy foot in the car.
Which one was that?
Like Cindy, what did you do? Tell.
Well, we came up for the wedding.
First time was, what was that? Going to St. Louis Junior Dad, we were sitting in the back.
We were going to a wedding in the van.
Yeah, so I took my shoes off.
Well, that was one of JoJo's family.
Yeah. So I was gonna put my shoes on when we were getting close by. She made a turn like that and I went, ooh. That's not what's law. Son of a gun, done the second time. Was a station, no, not station wagon, van. You remember that, Earl? And it wasn't bad first time, the second time, so I did it again.
Is that when she first started driving? Is that her first driving?
I don't know. She might have drove before, I don't know. She drove good though, I'll tell you
Right.
that.
Well, that's good.
She drove damn good, but the only thing when she make them curves, she chuckled.
Did you pray a little bit, Vince?
Right, hell, too damn late. That's right. He made that curve so fast, I couldn't even pray, put my shoes on. I felt myself, I was wet. I was all right, I was dry.
You know, Dad never would let me have a car that'd do over 120. I don't think
I knew there was some heavy
he
feet on
wouldn't
this
give me any
side.
of the fast
I
cars.
think there's a lot of people that have heavy feet.
I had to put on Grandpa video.
Oh, okay, tell.
I had just gotten home from California and I had a new Valiant. And we had gone to visit Aunt Catherine and Grandpa had his car. He and Nana had their car and I had my car up there. And we were both headed home. And he said, oh honey, I don't want you to go home by yourself. I'll follow you. I said, well, I'll follow you, Grandpa. No, 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 I'll follow you. Well, he did. He connected his car to the back of mine. He followed.
Had the beer trucks and had the gas tank up by the big shed in the back. And the family got their gas back there. Okay. I think this was before. It might have been after we got married. We might have been married. No, we weren't married yet. Anyway, Josephine filled her tank up, and she wrote a check to Grandpa Riggio. What she did, she made the check out to Steve Riggio. She signed it on the bottom, Steve. He took it to the bank, endorsed it on the back, Steve Riggio, and they took it out of his account. I never forget that. He come back with his check later when he was looking at it. He said, he was laughing about it.
Hey, that's pretty sharp.
Cindy, why don't you let me have that of the boys
He was there once.
Well, I got to come
and the boys?
and I didn't help a lot.
We didn't have
But
German
this,
sausage.
but this was the old family recipe. There was no bockwurst or anything. Now all these, now all these are coming in. I don't know. I think
This
the
was before the Germans.
yeah, the Italians gonna have to take a back seat now. I'm afraid. I don't know. We're getting overpowered here. What do you think, Vince? They making the bockwurst now instead of you teaching them the Italian sausage? Yeah.
Bockwurst, whatever.
But they used to have the number 3 tub.
Number 3, yeah.
You know, the great big tub.
We had two.
Yeah. And mixing it. This was all by hand. Do you still mix it by hand? No, you put it in the machine now to mix. Too.
Everything
Yeah.
machine.
Yeah. Well, this was in the tubs and in the big pans and everything. They mixed and throw
The
it.
only time you put it in a tub when you mix it by hand. You ain't got that machine yet.
Uh-huh.
You mix it in big tubs. And when you grind it once, stuff it, you got it.
Yeah.
We don't do it like we used to. Pound a sheet, just get the hell out of it.
Yeah.
Oh my
Now it's
God.
easier.
No, hell yes, twice.
Who has the job of blowing from?
Women.
I remember doing that, those salty things, and then.
We just did it on the faucet. We stick it in the faucet with the water right through it.
Oh,
They're
I
getting smart
see, and I
too.
get biff.
I want to get the Smarty again.
Well, it's German influence. We started running.
Oh, my.
Get smarter.
Yeah.
Lots of brains in the family.
Oh. Okay, let's line up, guys.
This is beginning to be war, is it?
Yeah,
over
it's
here?
gonna be
Yeah,
war,
our
Mary.
grandfather's name was
I'm going to
Lawson and German is
Aspetta. Hey, you better watch.
I'm the one that started.
You better watch that.
I don't know what he started, but I
I
started.
don't know. We're gonna have war. And all the kids are on the Italian side.
I don't know
Yeah.
about that, but anyway.
Yes, the father's okay. They'll drop all the kids are
Oh, he got into the- he got into
Steve,
the-
Nina.
I don't hear either one of mine saying words.
No, that's all right. They're on the Italian side.
Be nice.
Yeah, Steve used to tell
He
my
got
mom
into
he could
that.
speak Italian.
You even got the
He'd
kids
say,
in.
"I
Kids
saw."
got sick.
He was spending a week with us. And he and Alan were playing together during that time. And she overheard this. She overheard, one of the toys had just got broken. She overheard this. Alan said, and this is the height one. Alan says, "I'll be glad when you go home, Steve." And he said, "Why?" And Alan said, "Because you break my toys." And Steve said, "Yeah, I know." And they're still buddies.
For the pets. And I think Alan's was the one that got away. The little mouse.
It came back though.
It
And
came
it'd bring friends.
It's a friend we didn't.
So we had these white mice in the basement. And Alan's got away, and we're going hysterical. And then it finally came back.
Yeah.
Before they left that weekend. I was glad.
Yeah, we put the cage out in the shed. Some days they go feed it, it'd be there, some days it wouldn't, and some days it'd be the little wild mice.
The other one on this side, and I say, "I'm bumping this board, can you see it, Steve?" He said, "No, it's not moving."
You poked it all the way through.
Okay. I said, "Yeah, you see this?" No. And then we'd look at this side and walk around, look at the other side, and you'd swear you're looking at the same board. Finally, we said, "Well, I can't figure this out." I'd lean on the wall and it opened up. There was a space in there like that.
That was a secret wall, right?
And then we let the wall go and it come back in place. And
Couldn't see it anymore.
That was in the basement, that's how, that was where we turned
here for the weekend. This was like a Saturday, Friday or something. We spend the rest of the weekend at their house. When we got there, they weren't home. And I don't even know for sure where you were.
We were in southern Missouri with Katie and Joe.
Okay. It was Josephine and I and the 2 kids. So I just broke a window out of the house. We went in and spent the weekend. In the meantime, I went down to the hardware store, got a new window and put it in. And I I didn't even feel bad about doing it.
That's before all the police and things, you know, around.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what would happen.
The neighbors didn't say a word.
Right.
But you know, I think we were looking for you because if you remember, I had notes left on the TV and I said, put a quarter in for 15
Yeah,
minutes.
there were notes on it. Yeah.
And I had a note on the refrigerator, just one drink a day, or something like that, or please replace the toilet paper and use the soap and the towel. Just put the towel, use the towel, one towel for the whole family,
I used to know how
things
we were
like
gonna
that.
get in there.
Yeah.
You didn't know that.
But I didn't know you were gonna break my
We thought
window.
you had that. That's what we thought.
Well, we really broke your window out.
That's all right. We didn't mess it. It's back.
Well, back then, they made ravioli on the table, and they'd roll the sheets of dough out. And we had just finished putting all this ravioli on Grandma's basement table. I mean, it was full of ravioli. We had covered it with white sheets. And Sam had just come in from basketball practice, and he had his duffel bag, and he's bouncing down the steps, and he went, and everybody's yelling at him, you know, all at once. You know, I think we caught him before he destroyed too many ravioli, but he got yelled at by like 20 people. Why are you getting yelled at?
What's new?
Did you have to finish it, or did you know?
Denver, you don't put more than 3 chairs up here on the wall.